Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you for being here today. My name is Dave Reist, and I'm a Senior Research Fellow here at the Potomac Institute for Policy Studies. On behalf of Mr. Mike Swetnam, our CEO, and General Al Gray, our Chairman of our Board of Regents, it's great that you were able to take the time. Today's title is Kazakhstan-US Strategic Partnership, Past Experience and Future Outlook. We are very fortunate to have Ambassor Idrissov with us today, and Dr. Alexander and Mr. Sohani will also add some insights. You know, it has been said that quantity has a quality all of its own. When you're the 9th largest country in the world by landmass and the largest landlocked country, that saying alone applies. When you consider the geographical location of Kazakhstan, who they share extensive borders with, the natural resources and the potential it possesses, and the country with a deep history, it is no wonder the United States should be considering carefully the future outlook. Change is occurring quickly today, and this is leading many of the global powers to continually reassess relationships with other nations in order to assess what's in the best interest of both countries. Natural resources, key location, and other elements all factor into the calculus of strategic alignment. Kazakhstan fits squarely in the aforementioned areas. And as the Arab Spring continues and the prospects of a new Silk Road continue to unfold, complexity abounds. The apolitical charter of the Potomac Institute allows us to look at thorny issues, and today promises to be intellectually stimulating for both sides, yours and then the questions back. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Alexander. Thank you again for attending.
Thank you very much, General Reist. I would like to welcome all of you to our continuing series of seminars, particularly working with the diplomatic community in Washington. As many of you know, we're doing it for a long, long time, and we are blessed because we can enrich our own dialogue and insights into different countries. We had already a number of ambassadors this year, for example, from Georgia recently, and from also Spain earlier this year, as well as Morocco. And we are publishing the proceedings so it would reach a much wider audience around the world. I would certainly like to welcome our colleagues from the Potomac Institute, particularly our Vice President Tom O'Leary right here in the back, and Laurie Kinney right here, Director of Communications, as well as our scholars, young scholars, and interns and students from around the world. I don't know, Pat, are you around here? Maybe you can ask some of the people to quickly identify themselves, the schools and all that.
Okay. If the interns want to stand up real quick, ILI and ICTS. I'm just going to say your name and your school, starting with Angela.
Angela Rasmussen, University of Arizona School of Law.
Jake Butts, Indiana University Bauer School of Law.
Dave Spunto, New England School of Law.
Matthew Vogel with the George Washington University Law School.
Courtney Byrne, University of San Diego School of Law.
Felix Houston, University of Massachusetts.
Michelle Wiggett, Western University in Western Massachusetts. Amy Glazier, Tufts University.
Philip Canton, University of Arizona.
Ben Snyder, Penn State.
Okay, we welcome everyone from diplomatic community and government agencies, etc. Now, before we introduce our guest speaker, we're very grateful that he took time from his busy schedule to come and be with us, as well as our friend and colleague, Claude Shelani. I would like just to make an academic footnote to provide some framework to our discussion. I recall a Russian proverb which has variations in different languages, saying that everybody wants to take and nobody wants to give. Well, I can assure you from being both a observer as well as participant for many years, following what Kazakhstan had done, there is no question that Kazakhstan's record disproves this particular proverb. At least for the past 20 years that I'm familiar with, Kazakhstan has made very significant contributions to regional and global security concerns. In a very minor way, a small way that I try to follow, participate in some of these events, I would like to point out the contributions that I do hope that the ambassador will also deal with those in terms of the nuclear issue, how Kazakhstan tried to deal with the proliferation issue. Secondly, how to prevent radicalization around the world, meaning the soft power. And thirdly, the terrorism issue. And I had the honor to participate last year at a conference that the Kazakhstan government actually organized as president or the presidency of the OSCE in Astana, dealing with the threat of terrorism, but also looking at some of the soft power ideas. So the work of Kazakhstan with OSCE and many other organizations such as NATO and the UN, and now most recently Kazakhstan as the presidency, the Organization of Islamic Partnerships, a conference, and just recently there was a conference, some of you may have followed, in regard to the Shanghai framework to combat terrorism. So in terms of what we see, to put it in a nutshell, I think we have to look at the so-called spirit of Astana that calls for strengthening the dialogue, mutual understanding, and cooperation among religion, cultures, and civilizations. And fortunately today we're going to have the opportunity to listen to Ambassador Idrissov, who is going to provide some insights into the relationships, the partnership between the United States particularly and Kazakhstan. I'm not going to read his very rich bio. I think you have a copy of it, just some highlights. I think both on the academic level and background, he studied at Moscow State Institute of International Relations. He studied also languages in addition to English, Urdu, and French, and Hindi. As far as his diplomatic background, it's extremely rich for the past 25 years. As ambassador now in Washington the past 4 years, and also served as an ambassador to the UK and Norway and Sweden and Ireland, and he was a Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. Thank you for very nice introductions, and I'm really honored today. I have a special day, security related, because we have a delegation in town from Kazakhstan, and CENTCOM together with the DOD and Department of State are having a two-day conference on our regional security cooperation, and General Mattis was leading the group today, and I'm honored now to be introduced by another general, so today is my general's day. And I can recognize another general in the room, so it's a great opportunity to be courted by the high-ranking military. But And Dr. Alexander, thank you very much for your introduction. I will try to focus on US-Kazakh relationship. And I would prefer going then to question and answer session, because if you start talking about Kazakhstan, it will take you days and days. So many things to tell. And maybe in the course of my story about US-Kazakh relationship, I will be able to uncover many other aspects of nation building in Kazakhstan. I also admire the presence of so many interns. I noticed Arizona. Arizona has many things to do with Kazakhstan. In the Arizona University, we have a special course dedicated to Kazakhstan, Kazakhstan's culture and language. And Arizona, Tucson is twin to Almaty from Soviet days. Indiana also is a, I plan to go to Indiana because my new boss on the Hill, Dan Burton, he is the chairman of the, new chairman of the Subcommittee for Europe and Eurasia, and he is from Indiana, of course, and all other states which you mentioned, so welcome. And I recognize I think you are from Kazakhstan, right? Agul. No. Are you from Kazakhstan? From where? Kyrgyzstan. My wife is Kyrgyz, so you're relatives. So. In any case. Well, the United States was the first country to recognize our independence back in 1991. 25th of December, we were honored to be recognized by the #1 power in the world, and that gave us confidence in our nation building. Since then, we started to build a very robust relationship, and I can tell you, administration to administration, this relationship is on the rise. We, of course, are non-partisan, but we enjoy excellent relations with all administrations. And each administration or each period of our relationship brought a number of milestones in our cooperation. Of course, the first, I would divide the relationship into 4 sectors which actually reflect the areas where we focus our nation building. Security and sovereignty, economic development, political development, and governance building. So in all those areas, we are quite successful with the United States, and US continues to be one of the strongest partners of Kazakhstan. Of course, you know, and I understand that this is a very educated audience. You know that Kazakhstan was #4 by nuclear strength right after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Our nuclear strength was bigger than French, Chinese, and British put together. We had more than 1,200 ICBMs deployed in our territory, and of course you guessed that they were not targeted to Moscow or I don't know, Warsaw. They were targeted to quite other destinations, right? Most of them here. So we decided to work with the United States to resolutely do away with this nuclear heritage. And that was a huge, massive, and successful program. Our good friends and partners, Senators Nine and Lugar, put together a program which is called Cooperative Threat Reduction Program. And by the end of '90s, Kazakhstan became a non-nuclear state. Without any hesitation, we joined the NPT Treaty as a non-nuclear state. Of course, in those murky days of post-Soviet collapse, there were different sentiments, including Kazakhstan with regard to how to dispose of the nuclear arsenal. There were different approaches and visions, including the ones who wanted to rattle the nuclear weapons, seeing them as a source of strength. But the President of Kazakhstan took a bold decision. He never hesitated, and we went straight into the non-nuclear status, and that actually helped also to unlock that situation with regard to some other countries in the post-Soviet space, who also possessed nuclear weapons. I'm sure that you know who I'm talking about. And since then, this cooperation started to deliver on other tracks. This has opened the way for our bilateral military-to-military cooperation. This facilitated greatly our NATO-Kazakhstan cooperation, Partnership for Peace program. We are a rare country which has a special program within the Partnership for Peace with NATO, and actually I heard some saying that if you take the amount of and the level of military-to-military cooperation between Kazakhstan and the United States and NATO, that amount may be sometimes even bigger than NATO countries have between themselves. On the security area, non-nuclear, we have done the bulk of the job by the end of 90s. We have a set of framework agreements which are valid now. We continue to cooperate because non-proliferation continues to be a big target and goal. Therefore, Kazakhstan was actually one of the starring participants of the nuclear summit last year in Washington, D.C. Because non-proliferation is one of the most important agenda items on our bilateral agenda. And we focus on other areas. There were a number of great success stories. The last success story was of last year, the BN-350 disposal, spent fuel disposal, safe disposal. So this track will remain as it is, and that will continue to constitute one of the pillars of Kazakh-US partnership. Along with that, I would add the emergence of new areas where we cooperate with full confidence, and actually our security cooperation was a time tester for our relationship, and both US and Kazakh partners now don't have any hidden thoughts or agendas, and there is quite a good amount of confidence in dealing with some sensitive issues that helped to address the new, so-called new threats. Terrorism, which is your priority topic, drug trafficking, illegal arms trade, etc., etc. Of course, this has to do a lot with our part of the world, because most of these threats are coming from the south, and they are the threats both to the region, to Kazakhstan, and to the world. We understand this, and therefore we have a very robust agenda on tackling those issues. You, of course, know that Kazakhstan from day one has supported very actively and without any hesitation the US-led coalition, anti-terrorist coalition. And recent stories are that we signed recently the agreements which allow much more convenient and efficient routes, both by air and land, to Afghanistan and back. These were the latest success stories in this respect. But Kazakhstan and the United States also try to focus on other aspects of Afghanistan rehabilitation. We are maybe the only country from our part of the world which have a special program of capacity building for Afghanis. 2 years ago, we have initiated a training program for Afghanistan. We have allocated a special fund of $50 million to train Afghanis in our universities to civilian subjects like engineering, agriculture, medical workers, etc., etc. This is an important initiative which was hailed by the United States as a model for approaching the Afghan conundrum. I will have to add that we have, as I said, very active military-to-military cooperation. We work by 5-year plans. Now we are completing the 2008-2012 plan. We have an active military attaché office here. There is a very active engagement on both sides. We have more than 300 Kazakhstanis gone through military training in the United States, West Point, Naval Academy, although we are a landlocked country, but still we need to build our capacity on the Caspian Sea. and this is one of the important areas where we cooperate militarily. U.S. regularly participates in our exercises on the territory of Kazakhstan called Step Eagle. So that amount of military-to-military cooperation is also something which highlights our bilateral relationship. Second huge area is economic development. Kazakhstan had to build from scratch almost everything when we became independent. We had to build institutions. We had to move from a planned economy to a market economy. We had to move from one set of political institutions and culture, which we inherited from the Soviet Union, to a completely new system of political values and institutions and culture. So on the economic track, Kazakhstan also produced a great many success stories. I will not go into much of the detail, but I'll tell you, and I will be absolutely happy to answer the questions, but I'll tell you that a few facts will demonstrate how successful we are. For example, our GDP, per capita GDP, was less than $500 in 1992. Today it is more than $10,000. It's a rare performance in the world. We are now higher, for example, in per capita GDP than Malaysia and most of the Central and Eastern European countries. We are firmly in the middle of the GDP global list. Another indicator, for example, would be different ratings which global institutions have. General reminded me that back in 1997 we have returned the loan to IMF.
7 years earlier.
Yeah, 7 years earlier we decided to keep the money which we would pay for interest to ourselves, to our developmental goals. Therefore, I think we had a moral right to bid for the IMF top job recently. You know that we have bid. Chairman of our central bank was one of the bidders, but then we decided to let the French lady go. So, on the World Banking, the World Bank, for example, has a doing business rating for about 200 countries. We are number 59 on that list. To put you in the perspective, I'll tell you that, for example, Luxembourg is 64, Russia is 123, Ukraine is 147, and other stans much lower than that. Heritage Foundation keeps an economic freedom index. We're also much higher in our part of the world, the highest from the former Soviet space, and firmly in the middle of that index list. Our GDP grew from independence years 12-fold, per capita GDP 13-fold. That is also something to show. U.S. is a strong economic partner and a source of foreign direct investments. We are the biggest attractor of FDIs in our part of the world. Over the years of independence, we attracted more than $140 billion. Again, to put you in the perspective, the most successful years of growth were 2003, 2002, 2008, before the crisis. So 2003, 2008, World Bank figures show that Kazakhstan has attracted $50 billion US of FDIs, and Russia, with its much larger economy, has attracted $43 billion. So this shows, this will give you some understanding of the economic performances. U.S., as I said, is one of the largest investors. You currently take about 1/3 of FDIs. Recently, you have been outpaced, though, by Dutch businesses. So Holland now is #1, U.S. is #2, but I think there are rumors that Shell is departing from Kazakhstan, from the big field. Maybe U.S. will take back the first position, which we welcome. Now our priority is to focus on economic diversification. This is where we want to focus with you. And there are good examples, companies like GE, FedEx, Cisco, Microsoft, they are going into non-extractive sectors. Therefore, We welcome that opportunity because we are aware of the Dutch disease. We are aware that oil can be a curse unless you put together a well-thought plan to turn it into a benefit. Therefore, we are aware of this oil curse, and our top priority, economic priority, is not to develop the extractive sector, but to develop the non-extractive sectors. We try to identify certain niches in the non-extractive sectors where to focus and build on our strengths and competitiveness. And we identified such areas in petrochemistry, in metallurgy, in agriculture, in transport and communication, tourism, and construction materials industry. On the economic side, I would add that we fully support this administration's drive for innovation and modernization. Our logo is for the new term of the presidency is modernization, social welfare, innovation, and regional integration. Actually, this absolutely nicely fits into our bilateral agenda. We do, after we have cooperated very strongly on OSCE, which was the largest agenda over the last 10 years on our bilateral relationship, we now try to identify other areas of focus, and these are regional integration, because we understand that we have to work robustly to bring about the region as a region. Unfortunately, regional integration in Central Asia leaves much to be desired. We are not happy that Kazakhstan's economy is much bigger than all Central Asian countries and Caucasus put together. Still, if you put them together, still our economy is much bigger, and we started from more or less same conditions. Now we are not happy about that. We see that this is something which may hinder our own development. Therefore, we want to work with the United States and our European partners to promote regional integration, to empower private sectors in those countries. They all have taken different patterns of economic development, so we want to facilitate the economic growth through empowerment, particularly at the grassroots level. That's a policy goal which we identified with the United States and through institutions like USTR, a number of other departments, USAID, of course, AmCham, DOS, of course. We try to develop a program how to encourage and enhance regional economic integration, and the seminar which we have for these coming 2 days at Wheeler Hotel is particularly devoted to that area, to that question. A new area of our cooperation in the economic remit is science and technology. U.S. has identified special envoys for science. Dr. Gust is the president of the Linai University. She is a very successful scientist. She is a special envoy for science for Kazakhstan. She is going to Kazakhstan very soon, and we identified areas within science and technology where we have strengths, and we agreed to develop a practical program to promote that. There are very good examples, and there are platforms to build upon. We have built the first and unique completely non-Soviet university, state-of-the-art university in Kazakhstan, Nazarbayev University. It partners with 10 foreign universities. 8 of them are from the United States. One of the best universities of the United States, Pennsylvania University, New England, Harvard, Berkeley from the West Coast, Wisconsin, Madison, the Duke, so 8 universities, and we are building a situation when we want to get rid of the Soviet kind of handicapped situation when the Soviet Union had a fantastic fundamental science. and education was at a very high level, but this couldn't have been translated successfully into the industry. So we want to build a chain, education, research, industry. This is the model or the goal for the university, and we want to tap this experience from your universities, and these universities will be taking up the leads in certain areas like science, for example, medicine, etc., etc. Now I move to the democracy side, democracy building. This is maybe the area where you have a lot of controversies. We all live in the world of stereotypes, and this is the area where lots of misconceptions and misperceptions persistently exist. Very much the way how the Borat film cast the wrong image on Kazakhstan. You have here in this area also lots of misperceptions, a lot of wrong stories. Some stories are done on a purposeful basis. There are certain groups who want to stigmatize Kazakhstan for being non-democratic, etc., etc. The latest of these dirt stories was coming on my shoulders. You may have read here that I'm trying to bribe the Hill people to establish the Caucasus, producing special funds, etc., etc. So these are, of course, are not for serious people. We have to, unfortunately, live with this kind of stigmatizing efforts all along our path, all along our 20 years of independence. Our message to serious people, our message and our agenda bilateral with the United States is that nation building, democracy building is a very important agenda item. We worked on this from the very beginning. Our formula for success was focusing first on the economic growth, to empower people economically, and then letting them, through building the middle class, strong, viable middle class, letting them build their own institutions of society. We focus on judiciary. We have a system by constitution. We are a secular democratic state. This is fixed in our constitution. The full respect of human rights is fixed in our constitution. But serious people understand that to proclaim one thing is an easy thing to do, but to translate it into practice is another thing. And given the fact that we came out of a completely different culture, the Soviet culture, which of course didn't have all of these values, we have to build this, to nurture this culture, and we and our partners understand that democracy doesn't come overnight. This is something which you have to put through your guts, to nurture through yourselves, and this is mostly and basically a generation issue. So we are doing this. We have built economic muscles. I use a comparison in these situations very often. We have a Kazakh saying that a road of 10,000 steps is covered by making the first step. So to those who doubt, are we on that road to a liberal society building, I say that the only difference between Kazakhstan and the United States is that you are making your 238th step on that road, and we are making the 20th step.
Sorry.
I was right. This is a confirmation to my words.
I try to alert the others to turn it off.
No, it's okay. So there should be no doubts that Kazakhstan society and political culture is changing, and it has changed a lot. For those who are older, I will tell you that, for example, if in 1991 you would come to the streets of Almaty, for example, and ask people about NGOs, people would simply not understand you, wouldn't understand you, because there was no concept of NGOs in those days. Today we have 20,000 NGOs working in all areas: human rights, environment, education, gender policy, you name them. Media. Media also, we are being kind of suspected that our media is not free. Yes, our media is not ideal yet. We are building a culture of free, independent, responsible media. What we have observed in early years of our independence, state has have forsaken the media sector, and it went into private hands. In Soviet days, we had a situation when it was completely controlled by the state. Now we have a different situation when private people with their vested interests control the media. So we want to find a balance, and there is a very lively debate in the society. No one wants to control, or no one wants to, have that Soviet-type media. But we understand that media is very important. It's a very important tool for the nation building. And if we don't pay attention to the responsibility, social responsibility of the media, it can bring a lot of harm. And we have many examples of that. Therefore, we want to approach the whole issue of nation building with, as we say, with the kings in our head. We don't want to rush at things. We want to measure everything, to think everything through, to make sure that these institutions which we build are long-standing and viable in the longer term. And again, as I said, the building material for building new culture is, of course, humans. Therefore, nurturing generation, young generation, is the task number one. Therefore, we invest a lot into education. Every year, 30,000 Kazakh students go abroad. We are a rare country, maybe the only country in the world which has a special training program called Bolashak. Maybe for interns will be interesting. The government, from 1993, when our economy was completely lopsided, the president has allocated $10 million, and he was criticized by the parliament, by everyone. Why are you giving money to someone when we cannot feed our people properly? And you give this money for them to go for free studies abroad. He said, no, we are planting the seeds for the future. Since 1993, we have 70,000 students trained on the account of the government. And the government, this program pays fully for tuition, for accommodation, for stipend, for travels. It's approximately, for the United States, approximately $50,000 per head, completely free, 1 year, annually. And annually we cover 3,000 students. Multiply $50,000 by 3,000 students. This is just one line in the budget, apart from what other things we do for the education. Therefore, education, nurturing young generation, educated, well-motivated, dynamic, modern. This is the goal, and we believe, we understand that if we are successful in that, then we are building a successful future for ourselves. So I think for those skeptics who doubt the path we have taken, we point to these young people. And by the way, we're now in the third generation of these Bolashak students. Return rate of Kazakh students to Kazakhstan is 97%. They go back to Kazakhstan because they are sure that there are more opportunities over there. Many of them work in very high positions in the government now. For you to know, average age of Kazakhstan is 31 years. So our Prime Minister, for example, became a Prime Minister when he was 42. I became a Foreign Minister when I was 39. I'm now much older, so I'm preparing for my retiring age. And the average age of the government is also 30 years old. And they're holding very responsible positions. Most of them are Bolashak students, trained in the United States, in the United Kingdom, Germany, France, Japan, Singapore, everywhere, Moscow, of course. So we are confident that with putting a lot of focus on education, we are doing the right thing, because we are now reaping the results of those seeded plants, or the planted seeds. They are bringing the results to Kazakhstan, and we hope that this path will be continued. And this is also an answer to those who skeptically say that there is no succession mechanism in Kazakhstan and that our leader is too long in office. We explained to our critics that this is not a caprice. This is something which the set of circumstances force us to do. At critical times, when you had to build the country from scratch, from the chaos, complete chaos, you had to have a strong leadership. Very much like at the times of George Washington or Franklin, FDR or Churchill in war times in Britain, or General Charles de Gaulle in France. So we are going through this type of nation building, initial stage of nation building, which is absolutely challenging. Therefore, if you don't have a strong leadership with a vision, then you have a great risk of going unsuccessful. Therefore, we are quite confident. We focus on, as I said, on building viable institutions. Governance is the fourth area where we work with the United States. We understand that governance is also a core for your successful development. Judiciary, media, governance, institutions, efficient public sector, these are the things on which we focus on a permanent basis, and this is firmly on our agenda. Of course, we understand that we are not ideal, and I'm sure everyone knows that no one is ideal in this world. We always grow, and as we say, democracy and prosperous society is not the destination, it's a process. You always go towards that goal. And along this road, you perfect yourself, you perfect the institutions. We completely understand this now, having covered 2 decades of our independent development. This year happens to be the 20th anniversary of our independence, 20th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between Kazakhstan and the United States, and 20th anniversary of the closure of the nuclear testing ground in central Kazakhstan, Semipalatinsk, which symbolized the departure of Kazakhstan from the nuclear threat. So, with so many symbolic dates this year, we are quite confident that we are on the right track. We are happy to have partners like the United States, like Russia, like China, like Europe, as we build our strong nation. We have made many success stories, but we understand that a lot more is to be done. We have achieved a lot, but the grandeur task of the future should not let us be complacent, and we will always be on alert and motivated to go further. With this, I will stop here, and I will be, of course, absolutely happy to answer your questions. I know there will be lots of questions about our relation with China, with Russia, with Iran, etc., etc. So I'm at your disposal from here. Thank you very much. I can take the questions here, no problem.
Would you like to have the questions now?
No, please go ahead, yes.
Okay, let me begin. First of all, thank you very much for these insights, particularly covering a wide range of issues, all the way from the proliferation to the security issues, economic development, and democratic building. On this issue of the question of tolerance, I think the misperception about Kazakhstan and other countries who are Islamic, considered Islamic countries by virtue of the population. I think what I was impressed is, as I mentioned before, the spirit of Astana, of tolerance. Would you please map some outline of your plans for the coming months and year, also as a presidency of the Islamic Conference, and in general, how to bring religions together to have a common ground?
Thank you. I expected this question, and the culture of tolerance, which is clearly present in Kazakhstan, has its roots. First of all, it is rooted in our nomadic nature. Nomads were in the very heart of a huge landmass which is called Eurasia, and nomads historically were at the very heart of the crossroads and different movements, economic trends, political trends, cultural trends, religious trends. So we were at the center of that. And by that we developed a culture of not rejecting those new influences but absorbing them. This is uniquely developed quality developed through millennia. And this helped Kazakhstan in difficult times of the Soviet period, when Stalin and others have turned Kazakhstan into a ground for many ugly social experiments. The Stalin purges. Let's start from the collectivization. Well, let's start first of all with the October Revolution first, which was a huge social experiment with a lot of suffering. Then came the collectivization when 3.5 ethnic Kazakhs died because they were forced to change their walk of life, which they maintained for millennia. And they were forced to change their walk of life within a matter of a few years. That was the greatest suffering on our land in the 20th century. Then came Stalin purges. For you to know, the first Democratic Party was built in Kazakhstan in 1916. It is not a democratic party in how we understand it today, but the party was called Alash. It was built by the Kazakh intellectuals who studied in St. Petersburg, in Moscow, in European countries. These were educated Kazakhs, and they built this party, Alash, which was then crushed, and about 100,000 educated creme de la creme Kazakhs of our society, they perished in Stalin camps. As a kind of a twist of irony, Stalin chose Kazakhstan as the ground for Gulag system. Huge chunk of Gulag empire was located in Kazakhstan. One of the most ugliest parts of Gulag were located in Kazakhstan, and by irony again, near the present capital. The camp was called in Russian, it is Alger. It's abbreviation for the, literally it would be translated, the camp for the wives of the betrayers of the motherland. So if, for example, the husband is taken to prison, automatically his wife is considered to be also a bad woman, and she is sent to another prison. And they had a special camp for that, and for the children. This was an ugly period in our life. Solzhenitsyn wrote his famous Cancer Ward, and Ivan Denisovich through his experience in the camps in Kazakhstan. Lots of people were forcefully moved into Kazakhstan during those years. Therefore, we are now a country of more than 130 ethnic groups. You will find there anyone, almost anyone. Huge groups, ethnic Russians, Ukrainians, Belarusians, Uzbeks, Koreans, Germans, everyone from the Caucasus, because many Caucasian people were forcefully moved to Kazakhstan. Every group arrived to Kazakhstan through a lot of suffering. But Kazakhs, having that nomadic culture, they did not reject them. They did not blame on the people. We never blame Russians. We don't say that, we don't have any animosity in Kazakhstan against Russians, because we understand that they were also victims of that system. Who is to blame is the ideology. That is the point which is very often missed by outsiders. It is not Russia to blame, it is not Russians to blame, it is the ideology to blame. Therefore, this culture of tolerance helped us to accommodate those people. Now those people live in the third generation, in their fifth generation in Kazakhstan, and they were born there, they grew up there. For example, the chairman of the central bank, who we nominated for the IMF top job, Grigory Marchenko, he happens to be a good friend of mine, my dormitory roommate. But he is an ethnic Russian bearing a Ukrainian name, but he is I think his family lives in Kazakhstan more than 100 years. I mean, his I don't know how kinship, right? So this culture of tolerance helped these people to survive, helped Kazakhstan to stick together, and now after a curse of Stalin violence and violent acts, these turn out to be an asset. Now we consider them all as an important asset of Kazakhstan. No matter you are a Jew or a Korean or a Russian, black or yellow, whatever, no matter. You are loyal to Kazakhstan, you consider Kazakhstan your motherland, that's what we want. Make everything to make sure that your motherland, your country succeeds. I think this diversity helps a lot, and having people of different ethnic origins, of course you have people of different religious origins. We have more than 40 religious denominations, including Mormons, including Jehovah's Witnesses, including, I don't know, Krishnaites, etc., etc. But the staple religions, of course, are Sunni Islam and Orthodox Christianity. But I should tell you that Kazakhstan is not a religious country, very religious country. We are a secular country. Formally, we say that we have 60% of Muslims, but these are very secular Muslims, and I can tell you that we are much more secular than Turkey. In the West, Turkey is taken as an example of secularism, but we are much more secular than Turkey, to put you in the perspective. But this culture helps us, and our policy is you worship whatever you want to worship, and please simply don't mingle the religion with the politics. By our law, you cannot build a religious political party, or political party based on religion and ethnicity. You cannot build a Russian Democratic Party. You cannot build a Christian Muslim party. If you want to build a democratic party, let it be multinational. I mean, don't denominate it on ethnicity or religion. Take the entirety of it. So this is our principle, which helped us to, as I said, to stick together, and therefore many people recognized the strength of Kazakhstan, and we became a model, and we initiated a number of interfaith initiatives. Since 2003, we call a triennial World Congress of Traditional Religions and Non-Traditional Religions. Traditional, of course, these three main religions, biblical religions, and Buddhism. And also we have Shintoism and many more smaller religions. They all come. The purpose of that is we believe that not only politicians in this world, but also religious leaders should come together to work to make sure that peace is really respected and practiced. We see so many hotbeds on earth. Therefore, we believe that religious leaders should not stand away, but should complement what politicians try to do. Sometimes many important goals can be achieved by religious leaders rather than by politicians. Politicians sometimes can be partisan or whatever with their agendas, you know, in this dynamic world, but religious leaders, and we call this a Congress not for theological debates. We don't call these religious leaders to tell that, for example, Christianity is better than compared to Islam, for example. This is not the purpose of this Congress. The purpose of this Congress is to come by everyone. For example, 2 chief rabbis regularly come to this conference, and they sit together with Islamic leaders. They sit together with Christian leaders, and they talk peace. They talk what they can do together to make sure that there is no violence on earth, or the amount of violence is reduced seriously. They talk about how they can complement what politicians are doing in making this world much secure and less violent. So this culture persists, and I think that we can be proud of that. Very much like the United States, we call ourselves the melting pot.
Any questions or comments? Dr. Milton on it right there.
Okay, I have 2 questions. I'll be quick about it. First is that Russia looks with great suspicion on the U.S.-NATO plan for missile defense in Europe, so-called phased adaptive approach. What is Kazakhstan's view towards that plan and Russia's suspicions? The second question is, as you say, Kazakhstan has excellent non-proliferation credentials. In fact, it has expressed an interest in hosting an IAEA fuel bank. That's the only country that has expressed that interest, and is extremely qualified to do that. I'd like to know, what is the strategic objective of Kazakhstan in being willing to host that bank? Which, by the way, would be a backup for supplying fuel, low-enriched fuel, for nuclear reactors throughout the world. Okay, thank you.
On the first question, this missile defense story is exactly showcasing the unfortunate culture of suspicion which we inherited from the 20th century. Suspicions abide not only in Moscow, suspicions abide also in Washington and other capitals. And it's not maybe, well, Kazakhstan is far off that territory, geographic territory of missile defense story. But we watch it. We watch it, and we hope that the culture of dialogue will prevail, that amount of suspicions will be used. The stumbling block is exactly the suspicion. Russia suspects that NATO is, having some hidden agendas and trying to plot behind, and NATO people are also having their own suspicions that Moscow is also trying to do certain unwelcome things. The whole point is not in technical aspects of missile defense, to my personal point of view. The whole point is about this culture of suspicion. We understand, but the declared goals of missile defense are clear. It's security of Europe, European partners by the United States against certain threats from Iran. We heard different technical experts commenting on the technical aspects of this threat, etc., etc. I wouldn't comment on that. I will tell you that the moment the level of suspicion goes down, you will see how successful these negotiations could be. And actually, what we see lately, the culture of reset, which was fondly translated wrongly at its launch, right? When Hillary Clinton went and launched with Lavrov, they translated the reset into Russian wrongly, and this created a lot of fun. But anyway, this culture is great. This is what we welcome. As smaller countries, we watch this relationship, and our policy in this situation is the better you have relationship with Russia, the better you have relationship with China, for example, the better it is for us. Because if anything goes wrong in China or in Russia, we are the first to suffer, because we are next door there. Therefore, benign policy of partnership and cooperation, genuine partnership and cooperation, is what we support wholeheartedly. And this is how we approach the missile defense story. The second question was?
It has to do with the
IAEA, yes.
And what is the strategic?
Strategic goal is, well, the strategic goal of Kazakhstan and my president is to get rid of nuclear weapons globally completely, one day. And we call for universal declaration, UN universal declaration on forfeiting nuclear weapons. We understand that this is a very, very sensitive and difficult issue. You have P5 countries, you have other countries, you have threshold countries, etc., etc. But maybe in a certain naive way, we keep calling people to get rid of that. This is, by the way, also a declared goal of President Obama. He also said that maybe not in his even lifetime, but he set a goal to get rid of nuclear weapons, and we completely share that. Therefore, we offered, but we, of course, being #1 producer of uranium in the world today, having our own nuclear capacity, we believe that with prudence, nuclear can be a very useful source of energy for the future. Of course, Fukushima story has brought a number of emotions into this narrative, but We offered ourselves as a venue for fuel bank, particularly proceeding from that long-term global goal. We know the suspicions in this nuclear world against Iran, etc., etc. So we offer ourselves to make sure that that can create a platform for dialogue. This is not a decided issue yet, and but we hope that by again setting the example, we'll contribute to the building a dialogue and understanding this very sensitive area. We were very sincere in offering ourselves. We have the capacity. We have an impeccable non-proliferation record. We have the material, and we have facilities. So putting this together, we are seen by many as the almost ideal venue for the fuel bank, and we are happy to offer ourselves.
Mr. Ambassador, if I may follow up the question about this nuclear issue. For example, the program of the Middle East Weapons of Mass Destruction Free Zone that is now being pushed by different countries. Would Kazakhstan, for example, be willing to provide leadership to host or co-host a meeting to bring in some of the countries from the Middle East, for example? And you mentioned before, Senator Sam Nunn in Lugar, that academically, we're trying to cooperate on this issue. So with your experience and background in leadership and proven record on this issue, what other country can we turn to? And my question is whether you might consider to host some meeting to deal with this issue related to the Middle East.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, we have initiated and built a Central Asian nuclear free zone. The Treaty on Central Asian nuclear free zone was signed in Semipalatinsk, the former ground of the former testing polygon, nuclear testing ground. On this Middle East nuclear free zone, of course, this is a very difficult issue. Particularly with the Arab Spring, it's now very largely on hold. But to answer your question, I can tell you that theoretically, yes. Theoretically, we will be happy if there would be something where we would be able to contribute to promote this process. We would be happy to jump in. But we understand that there are procedural issues, there are depository countries, there is a process of negotiations, and the venue should be agreed between two parties, Arabs and Israelis. So it's not a very easy task, but as an answer to your question, yes. But what we watch this process, we see that it is very largely on hold, and there are very not very bright prospects for it to succeed in the immediate future, because you have all these doubts and concerns and unclarities with the Arab Spring. Yet I think that these things should be sorted out first and see what emerges out of this situation.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, right there, Evan.
Hi, my name is Evan Lund. I'm a research assistant here. Just want to thank you very much for your insight, and on behalf of our younger generation, not resorting to Borat to know more about Kazakhstan. You mentioned the plight of persecuted minority groups. In the summer of 2009, there was a major demonstration of political unrest in western Xinjiang province by ethnic Uyghurs in China. Given Kazakhstan's large population of Uyghurs, do you have any thoughts on what occurred at that time, and how do you view China's policy towards their minority ethnic groups?
China's policy?
Yes.
Uyghurs are our brothers. First of all, this is a ethnic group with strong Turkic origin, roots, and they live there forever. They live there for millennia, and we were bordering each other for millennia. In the 60s, a large group of Uyghurs ran away from China to Kazakhstan. So we have about, about 200,000 Uyghurs in Kazakhstan, mostly in southeastern part of Kazakhstan. You see, they are part of China. This is a reality. And we believe that the Chinese policy towards minorities is improving. Actually, they now focus their developmental goals in Western China. Yes, Western China, which is bordering Kazakhstan. I doubt that you would have a lot of great support for the creation of independent state over there. So China disintegration prospect is a very dangerous prospect for us. Therefore, we try to, Uyghurs are successfully accommodated in our society. Xinjiang is a fastly developing province of China. I have personal memories of going to Urumqi in 1985, and then in 2005, I think. Fantastic growth, fantastic growth. Therefore, I think the answer to this question lies along going away from emotions and along developing a better understanding between each other. We partner with China in many areas, and one of the pillars of our partnership is joint efforts against three evils, as they're being called by Chinese: the separatism, terrorism, and extremism. So inciting the violence is always bad, and we will never support that. What has happened in 2009 is, well, you heard and read the official coverage of that. That was ethnic-based street-level violence, which erupted in more massive violence over there. And we believe that continuing to inciting these ethnic divisions is not bad. We know that there is a strong presence of Uyghur community here. There is a Congress or something in Washington, D.C. We know that many Congress people support that. We have our own understanding of the situation. Therefore, our approach is that inciting ethnic divisions or divisions along the ethnic line is bad, is not productive, and is not helpful.
Okay, any other questions? I know the ambassador has to leave. I would like to ask you to wait until he leaves, because we have Mr. Shilani will continue the discussion. We would like to thank you again. I'm going to ask my colleague, the General, to say final words.
Thank you. I hope I answered that. I was so good to answer all your questions, right?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.
Ambassador, on behalf of the Potomac Institute for Policy Studies, we want to thank you for your very candid and very open remarks, especially insightful the way you spoke to tolerance. I think not only our country, but several others can learn a lot from your intellectual and thought-provoking comments along those lines. We thank you for taking the time. We wish you safe travels and the best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know what you have to do. If I may give it to you.
Yeah.
You can stay? No, okay. Wonderful. Okay. All right. So I really appreciate that. I would like to move on our discussion related to Kazakhstan. The ambassador was going to point out some aspects related to democracy building and tolerance and ethnic, racial, and religious tolerance, which is really critical, and tragically it's one of the root causes of extremism and violence and terrorism that we see today. Now, we are delighted to have with us today also Claude Shilani to make some comments and provide some insights as a journalist to follow the developments in that region in Central Asia and also the Middle East. I had the pleasure to know Claude for a long time as a scholar and journalist. He wrote several books, one of them on the Middle East, and the most recent book that was just published, it's out this week, is Islam Without a Veil, about Kazakhstan's path of modernization. And I think that he can provide some additional insights as an observer. And in fact, when I met him last time, a couple months ago in Astana, he didn't have time really to go out for dinner because he was working on the book. Congratulations. And those of you who might be interested, the books are going to be available, and he promised that he would even sign them later on if you're interested. Claude, take over.
Thank you, Yona, for the opportunity, and thank you, the Potomac Institute, and thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for being here. This is an excellent opportunity. Yona asked me to be short, so I will try and be short because we're running out of time. It seems to be a habit with me. I was once, when my first book was published, I was asked I was on a radio show, and I was told, Claude, do you think there will be peace in the Middle East, and what will it take to achieve that? And you have 30 seconds before we go to commercial break. So I can do this in 5 minutes, easily. I went to Kazakhstan in January 2010 for the Washington Times as a correspondent, knowing very little about the country, very little indeed. I had been there once before to take part on a media panel, and I was in the hotel most of the time on the panel, in out, in one of these things that you hardly see anything of the country. I went back in 2010 with the knowledge that the false knowledge, I should say, that most American correspondents have, that Kazakhstan was known for its abuse of human rights and lack of press freedom. So I went there, I did my first story on the OSCE, Kazakhstan took the chair of the OSCE. I did my second story on the press restrictions, fully expecting the secret police to show up at my door and escort me to the airport. It didn't happen. The next day I was in the foreign ministry, and a senior official told me, we read your story. The minister read it, actually read it twice, and found it very balanced. And that was the end of it. But while I was there, I discovered something else, that these, as the ambassador pointed out, that there are false impressions of countries, but Kazakhstan was onto something very interesting. It is, in fact, a Muslim majority country, 60%, but very much at peace with itself. And this is where the idea for the book came to me, Islam Without a Veil. It was a country that was at peace with itself and with its neighbors, and it was a model, at least the way I saw it, for, especially in these times, in these trying times where the West looks at Islam as, in general, generalizes Muslims as being all bad. There was no such. There was one article that was published by some so-called scholar who said there is no such thing as a good Muslim. It doesn't exist. So I found out that this was very different, and I started out my book by paraphrasing John Kennedy, President Kennedy, who said, "Those of you who believe that communism can be the wave of the future, let them come to Berlin." I say, those of you who believe there cannot be a moderate, kinder Islam, let them come to Kazakhstan. So I promised I would be short. I will leave it at that. The book covers a lot of what the ambassador pointed out in more detail, because he had less time than I had to write the book. Although, as Professor Alexander said, when we last met in Kazakhstan, I was working 20 hours a day to literally to get this book out on time. And I'm very proud to have been able to do that. I think it's a very interesting experience to have lived through. I spent 7 months in Kazakhstan doing research for the book, and I found out that there's a whole different world out there and to be seen. It's certainly not the Kazakhstan of Borat. that's for sure. One thing that the ambassador did not mention about the nuclear issue aspect was that when they were going to give up their nuclear capacities, they were approached by Muslim countries. They wouldn't tell me who it was, but I have a good idea. I think I know who it is. They were approached by Muslim countries who offered to pay them large sums of money to retain those nuclear weapons. And this was at a time before they discovered the vast reserves of oil, so they needed the funds. Still, they turned down the offer to keep the nuclear weapons. There's a lot to be said for that. So I know we're running very short on time. I will stop and we can take questions if you still have any. Thank you.
Oh, please, please.
$20 billion were on the table for Kazakhstan to keep the weapons, but just in passing, you know. But when I learned that Claude has produced this book, I was amazed how he chose the title of the book, Islam Without the Veil. I wanted to tell you the story that Islam came to Kazakhstan in the 9th century. And of course, before Islam we had other types of beliefs. And we have very strong culture of pre-Islamic beliefs and pre-Christian beliefs. They were based on Tengrianism. Tengrianism is early religion of Kazakhs, which worships a single god, Tengri. And actually, the core of the religion is the bondage between a human being and nature. So since Kazakhs were nomads, and nomads had a very strong matriarchal society, position of a woman was always strong in our society. And when Islam came, the strength of pre-Islamic beliefs couldn't cover the face of our women because of that nomadic culture and beliefs. And we now joke that there was no reason to cover the faces of our women because they are so beautiful. So therefore, it is without a veil. You know?
There's a picture. I would like to ask you, both of you, actually, as you refer to, in terms of, on the one end, the move towards modernization, on the other end, to keep a value system and Islamic some principles and so forth. One of them that you referred about, democracy building, as we know, is the rights of women. In other words, we find that more and more women are involved in democratic societies, and they become prime ministers, but we see it as well as some of the Muslim countries, that trend. Now, can you, Mr. Ambassador, tell us a little bit about the programs related to develop women in the civic society?
Maybe Claude will, but I can tell you one thing. There is no issue with gender policy in Kazakhstan. Actually, we don't have any problem with that. And we don't count how many women we have in the parliament or how many women we have in the government. We are building meritocracy. If she is good to take the job, she will take the job. If she is not good, then she will not take the job. She will not take the job just because she is a woman. That's, but of course, the women are very active in Kazakhstan. You know, there is a very powerful organization here in the United States called Vital Voices. So they're opening a chapter in Kazakhstan. Our women in all sectors of life. In education, they prevail. They prevail in science. And basically, as I said, we don't have to have a special movement to carry on. But as everywhere, including this country, women are not happy. They always want to have more rights. We support that. We are happy with that. There is no problem, and there is no. It's not a conflict situation. You see, and as I said, to put it in if I would be asked to give a 30-second quick answer to this very difficult question, I would say that there is no issue with gender policy in Kazakhstan.
Fully agree, and I fully agree that your women are beautiful.
Now let me ask one more question. I know we have to end very soon. This is the question of security, which obviously concerns many of us, students and academics and tourists and so on. when we met in Astana and so on, I think I did ask you a question because you went through in your life many wars, particularly in the Middle East, and attacked by terrorists and all that. And I asked you whether you felt safe in Kazakhstan. Do you remember what you told me?
I don't remember what I told you, but I have a good idea of what I would have told you, because I said I felt completely safe there. Yes, I have covered 12 wars, by the way. And in Kazakhstan, I've been to 83 countries. In Kazakhstan, I felt totally safe. I went out by myself, took taxis to get around. I don't speak Russian, or very, very little Russian. And I would take taxis to go back to my apartment 2, 3 o'clock in the morning by myself. Never had a problem, never bothered. People were extremely friendly. When they found out I was an American, they welcomed me. I've rarely seen, you see actually young women taking taxis and hitchhiking by themselves after going to clubs at night, something you wouldn't see here in this country.
Claude, your story of the American ambassador.
We'll talk about that.
I will give you a story to that. In 2007, we had elections, parliamentary elections, and then our embassy was covering Canada, and the Canadian senator called me, Mr. Dino, and he is a Jewish Canadian member of the Canadian Parliament. He went to observe the elections, and he came back and told me a story. On the third day, he was accompanied by someone, because he's a senior member of the Parliament. He was accompanied by someone from the Foreign Office, a junior diplomat, and late at, 8 p.m. or something, after they had finished their job, he said, "Can you please give me an escort, and I want to go and see the synagogue." And the young guy said, "You can go to synagogue, I give you the transportation, please go. We don't have to do anything special to arrange for your trip to the synagogue." And Senator was insisting, "No, please give me the escort, please give me some security, etc." And they couldn't obviously understand each other. Senator was insisting on something special, and the guy didn't understand what he wanted. In the event, Senator went there to the synagogue, and he was absolutely shocked, because a synagogue was in a central park, in a public park, no fence, no police protection, people just were sitting on the benches near the synagogue, etc., etc. And he was shocked. In the middle of a forgotten country of Kazakhstan, of Baratistan, right? Where he would expect that they will have a special kind of measures to protect synagogue, he found that it was absolutely part of the local landscape. And he told me the story when he visited synagogues in France, for example, in Germany, where they really need special protection. They have the fence and the police, etc. He came and he started to tell these stories, and I was not shocked when he told this story to me, because it's something with which we lived our life, and that was part of our nature. And he was shocked, and he started to tell these stories. I also started to tell these stories, and people were surprised, whereas we are not surprised.
Well, this is, if I may say, it's traditional, because from what I know from personal stories, that Kazakhstan opened its doors for the refugees or those during the Second World War who were saved because they were able to come to Kazakhstan. So this is the old tradition of tolerance, which I find very useful. One last question, Mr. Ambassador. What would you like to see from the United States, aside from the security issues, economic development, particularly the issue of tourism, people to people? And I found that there were some very good facilities, hotels and all that, but it seems to me it's the beginning. Is this a question of investment that you would like to see, to invest into a tourism infrastructure in Kazakhstan?
Well, to complete that story, I just recalled another story. I was president's assistant in 1996, I think, and there was a first visit to Israel. And we went to Israel and we were staying in the King's David Hotel, if someone knows Israel, Jerusalem. And we were coming, of course, with the police escort, and the police I saw some hectic, walkie-talkie between the police. I said, what's happened? They said, there is a huge crowd at the door of the King's David Hotel, and they were afraid that these were demonstrators or protesters or whatever. We came by. It turned out to be Kazakh Jews who came to greet Nazarbayev. That was a great relief, for the police people. But to answer your question, first of all, what I noticed is, and this is not a criticism, what I noticed that Americans are not very dynamic tourists. You have, first of all, lots of places to visit here in the United States. And internal tourism as compared to foreign tourism I think is greater. But to encourage an American to go for foreign travels, it's not an easy task because you don't have a culture for traveling far off. Lifestyle, busy. Everyone is busy. Therefore, to take out 2 weeks is a dream for any American, for many Americans. I remember I was hitting the Badlands in South Dakota. I went into a famous tourist location, the drugstore house called. Yeah. And I talked to a lady there. She was in her after 50s, and she asked me where I'm from. I didn't want to tell her that I'm from Kazakhstan. I was sure that she wouldn't know where Kazakhstan is. So I said I'm from DC. And she said, oh, I've never been to the East Coast in my life. So. What I would wish from the United States with regard to our part of the world, I will tell you the following. And I address this to academics and people, maybe there are some people from the State Department, I don't know. US, of course, is a big country, a global power. You are like an elephant, you are wanted everywhere. We are not on your top priority list. Your top priority list is Middle East, Russia, I don't know, Afghanistan now, etc., etc. We also registered that US doesn't have a coherent, very clear-cut strategy for Central Asia. Now it's emerging. There is a growing understanding. This administration does a lot to turn things right. There is a huge mission for the United States to do in our part of the world, to empower, to help the change over there. And also, you mentioned that we are largest landlocked country in the world, right? We are squeezed there. And we have a traditional route through Russia, we have another traditional route through China, but there is also a natural route to the south, and to the south it is blocked. So US somehow understand that this is an important area of their focus. So I would hope that the US will develop a coherent, practical strategy supported by resources to help poorer countries of Central Asia to change economically and institutionally. That's a huge challenge. And just to illustrate that, I will tell you that in 20 years of independence, no US president visited our part of the world. No US president visited our part of the world. We understand schedules, we understand how busy your agendas are, etc. But I think that in 20 years' time, there should have been a time to send such an important political message. As a comparison, Russian president comes, exchanges annually several times. Chinese president was more than 20 times. And this is, we believe that the US has a very positive balancing role to play in our part of the world. And it depends on a very coherent strategy, practical strategy to develop. And things are moving in the right direction. I simply want to encourage that further. And you as academics represent different sectors of life here. I would encourage the greater sense of curiosity among Americans towards new parts of the world. And we are open, and we are your friends, we are partners. we are a rare country where you don't have anti-American sentiments at all. As Claude said, you don't have Yankee or something, you know, graffiti. We understand how busy you are, how taken you are. You have to attend to almost every issue in the world. But we understand how difficult it is to prioritize. Everyone comes to you and says, we want American investments. American investors cannot go to all 200 countries in the world, you know. So prioritizing is an important thing, but what I register with satisfaction is that there is a growing understanding in all circles here in the United States of the importance of our part of the world. The Silk Road is coming back. The cultural Silk Road is coming back. Therefore, we believe that U.S. should play a very important role in this process. So these are my concluding things.
If I may just add one point on that, and I go into deeper detail in the book on that, is that here we have the opportunity of a country that is open to U.S. influence, that wants to be our friend. And we ought to do everything we can to make it our friend, because they're a natural ally. They're situated geopolitically, geostrategically in such a way that they've got a 1,000-mile border with Russia, a 4,000-mile border with China, if I'm not mistaken. Not to mention the others in the Caspian Sea to Iran. And they are open to our ideas and want to be our friends. And this is a golden opportunity that should not be wasted. One final point is I was lucky enough to be invited to attend President Nazarbayev's address to the parliament last year when I was in Astana, and I was sitting next to one of his advisors, and of course the subject of Borat came up. And I said, what you ought to do is put out an advertisement to American tourists, visit Kazakhstan, this is not Borat's Kazakhstan.
Okay, let me, Kazakhs are very talkative, you notice, right? So, someone says something, episodes come to your mind. I was in London as our ambassador at the heat of the Boratomania, and the president was visiting London during the week where people expected the first screening of Borat. Of course, there was a lot of excitement, and all media, you know, they were crazy about that. By the way, I had to put an article in the Times. My article was, we survived, entitled, we survived Stalin, we are going down to survive Borat. But the story was, we went to the Downing 10, and Tony Blair was a bit nervous, because after the lunch, we had to go to the press event. And he knew that the British media is particularly nice, you know. So everyone was expecting the question about Borat, and he was nervous how Nazarbayev will react, because all the papers ran the stories that we were suing Borat, we are critical, we are mad, we are angry, and he couldn't raise it with Nazarbayev. But the president asked my advisor and said, take it with you. I mean, everyone was doubtful how he will react, because, you know, it's not a very pleasant story. So they went to the press conference, and the first question indeed came about Borat. And I saw the paling face of Tony Blair. And Nazarbayev said, I'm so sorry that Borat is not in this room. I would be happy to talk to him. Everything eased. Tony Blair blushed. So everything went well. Sorry for talking too much.
No, not at all. I mean, one thing we can promise you as academics that we'll try to strengthen the academic bridges with your country. It's a two-way street. On the one hand, we can shape our students and interns seriously to spend some time there, and we would like to see also students and interns from Kazakhstan coming here to work with us, because after all, they are the future scholars and leaders, and we have to begin with youth, as we've seen with the Arab Spring, that the youth is so much involved. So we thank you very much for your insights, and hopefully, as we say, inshallah, we can continue. And we want to thank Claude Celani, who is going to stay and meet the people who are interested in this area. Mr. General?
That's all. Thank you very much for attending. Ambassador, thank you again. Claude, pleasure.
Well, thank you.